Okay, that seemed to have worked, but let me just update the link real quick in the hub since we're now in a different spot. Okay. I think we're finally ready to go. Good morning,
All
everyone.
right.
All right, so let me just see, who do we have here? Okay, all right, good. Expand my window here a bit. All right, so Sarah, I take it you're helping with notes because I saw some things pop in already, right?
Yes.
Thank you, awesome, okay. Let's just go on to action items then. Rick, any update on the chapter audit?
Yes, we actually posted one on the hub. That's really the most recent update. After everybody's had some time to review everything and they're happy with it, I only picked three targets, the first three in the group, and sent them out, and they all went perfectly.
So did those three respond with the information you asked for?
One already has, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it worked. They filled everything out. It worked just the way it was supposed to.
That's great.
Good start, yeah.
So 1 out of 3.
1 out of 3 is pretty good, Rick.
Yeah, really, that's better than our typical percentage, so it's a good start. And it takes.
I didn't want to throw the switch until you guys, looked at it to see if you like the formatting and everything. So I just picked those first 3. And all I need to do is the code concatenates all the email addresses that are available for that chapter. So
Okay.
if they have alternates, it emails each of the alternates.
Okay.
And then that way I get dead links back, which is kind of nice because I know if they're just not there anymore.
Very good. Yeah, just keep notes as you go. I'll remember our ultimate goal is to clean up that spreadsheet and update our data as well as, remove inactive chapters. So it's a kind of a multi-pronged effort. Just, it's your show. So go, it sounds like it's working. I'd say go ahead and proceed.
Well, is there anything else? I mean, Sarah, are you okay? Is there anything you wanted to add to what you
No,
did
I think
use, or-
I sent everything that
Okay.
that I wanted to capture to you, and I saw that you included everything, so I can't think of anything else right now.
Well, what we like is that it fills in the information from the awesome spreadsheet right into the email. So
Yeah, that's good. So they can see if there's
yeah.
wrong information there. That's great. Okay, I'm going to keep it on the list here just so that we can kind of get updates. But that's well, I take that back. No, this specific action item is for beginning to send those chapter audit emails. So I'd say that's done and just proceed. I'm going to mark this one off. I do have it on the agenda below so that we can keep keeping a tabs
So
on
is that a go? Should I just go ahead and throw the switch, or?
Like I said, it's you're in the lead here. So if I'd say if you got good feedback on the first set that you sent out, you already got one person that filled in the data. It sounds like it's working. Go for
We
it.
actually had another person that wrote back and said they had deleted it and they wanted me to resend it. So they must have seen the thing on the hub, maybe. I don't know. So
Yeah,
okay.
I go for it, and just let me know if there's anything I can do to help. But let's get going.
Well,
Sounds great, Rick.
we're also going to each of the websites and
Very
checking
good.
each of the websites. So there's actually 2 things. It's a responder and a website check. So
Great. All right, thanks, Rick. Next one here is for John to try to find documentation about fiscal sponsorship and create some sort of an agreement template. Any updates there?
Yes, I do have one. And we can go over it if you like.
Sounds good. Let me see if I still have that down here. I think I took it off, so let me put that back in here.
I think I need to fix the fee percentage on the template just to match what's currently set up right now in Open Collective. Just wanted to chime in there.
Did you get that, John? Okay.
Yeah, I'm delighted that Evan is here. We'll go over the situation when you wish.
Sounds good. So I'll go ahead and cross this one off and we'll talk about that when we get to the agenda. Next one is for me to, actually, the first one was for me to write up a template response for people asking how they find recipients to work with. It is a common question. I thought I had already done this, but I couldn't find it. So I just did it again. And I have a template now. It's in our help desk system, but I'll send a copy of this to anyone who would like it. Interesting side note, ChatGPT wrote most of this. So basically just, explaining that we currently have a limitation in our ability to connect them with people. We have more makers than we have people seeking assistance. Explaining that we're working on a new matching platform and we're working on outreach efforts. In the meantime, you can help us by continuing to spread the word, raise awareness. You can reach out to, you can volunteer in other ways like creating educational resources, helping with fundraising, et cetera, et cetera. And then listing out some specific ways they can help, such as networking, raising awareness on social media, outreach events, collaborating with local schools, universities, et cetera. Just generic kind of recommendations for how they can help while we're working on getting a better recipient pool. It probably needs some review and editing, but it was a good start. And the robot did most of the work for me. Oh, why is my camera off?
Jeremy, really quickly on that note, just because that's something that Sarah and I are trying to tackle this year. Really no updates or edits to that right now. But once the outreach team has had a chance to meet and start mapping out some plans, we might have some recommendations or additional resources.
And you may then
bolster
have
that.
a better list of specific things these people can do to support your efforts. And I'd love to update this once you have that. So just let me know.
Yep, will do.
But for
And
now,
really
it's
quick,
just-
if I could just drop on the agenda for today, I just so that we don't run out of time.
Yeah.
I do have an update on the Afghan initiative of all things.
Oh,
and,
excellent. Okay.
Would love to carve 5 minutes out to bring that to the group real quick.
I wonder whether that document might want to mention that Sarah and Adam are the outreach team, and that if they do have ideas or pursue this, they should get in touch with them.
Yep, I'm very comfortable with that.
Are you, Sarah? Are you?
Yes.
Okay, Sarah, I know you have an email address. Adam, do you yet?
Yep.
You do. So it's adam@e-NABLE.org.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Let me
That's
just
right.
add a note here. Add note about
Ask GPT to write a paragraph
Right.
about Sarah and Adam.
I might. It really is helpful. It's a lot of fun.
I have done so much work on ChatGPT the past couple of months. I knocked out like 3 months worth of writing in a couple of weeks. It's amazing.
It really is pretty mind blowing. Anyway, not to get us sidetracked. All right, where were we? All right, so that was the template response for finding recipients. We'll work on it. I'll add that note in there and we'll keep updating it as we work. Next one was for me to add links to important templates in the getting started section. So I did that. It's in our main forum. If you go to the wiki. So under getting started, you'll now see that there's this new item here, important documents. I put it right after the code of conduct. I kind of feel like these are sort of in order that we'd want people to go through them. So we want them to learn the basics, and then important documents now has links to those things that were embedded in the code of conduct and some of the things that were over here in the link lists, just kind of trying to put them into one easier to find place. And there's also a call in here for people to help us translating these into other languages, so that we can get more translations going. So that one I think is done. Next one is Adam to work on setting up Trello for tracking e-NABLE projects, and he did. Yeah, and we have a nice start on, this is what our board is looking like now. So
I forgot I did that.
yeah. So I love the fact that he got it to where on a typical, I don't know if my screen resolution is typical, but I love how it fits nicely on one screen. So we've got pre-planning, owner assigned, then in progress, and then initial deployment, and then completed and or monitoring. So I think those sort of phases or statuses make a lot of sense. Simple, easy to move through from something that's totally unclaimed all the way through to completion and monitoring. So I think it's a great start. And really now I think the next action is for me to work on populating this with all of the other things that we've already captured. You know, I have I have spreadsheets full of, I don't even know where I have it, but I've got spreadsheets here of some of the other tasks that we've been collecting. And I will work to add those into cards, and then we can add details. And then Adam, I think you and I can then talk about sort of how to engage, with the community and how we share this and, the implementation side of it from there. But I'll try
Right.
to get it populated first, maybe.
So I was playing around with the automation tools a bit, and I have my own little like personal workspace that's not shown here. But you can do some really nifty stuff with like automating, well, really every step. But you can, whenever something like a card is added to a particular stage, it can be automatically populated with a new checklist, and the previous stage's checklist of like to-dos can be just wiped. And then once the checklist is completed, once every stage is checked off, then it automatically moves it to the next stage. Just neat little things like that.
Very nice. Yeah.
And also like adding quick buttons for like adding members or adding yourself. And there's a lot of neat stuff that can be done.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. And then
I'm a fan.
one of the reasons that we went with the premium version is so that we get access to these other views. Have you looked at all into how is this just automatic as soon as you put in dates on a piece?
Yep. As soon as you start adding milestones and deadlines, they'll appear on the calendar. There's also
that's
there's
part
a
of
neat
this
little dashboard view. And
so I never even used that. Which was the one that we were seeing there on the timeline? What is that there?
I believe that's
set up
the middle
Trello
stage.
board. Okay.
Yeah.
So then,
in progress.
So this is one that, I see, because it has a due date. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so
and
then
you can see I also tracked all the activities. So I was just keeping track of what I was doing as I was doing it. So you can see in the comments there.
Got it.
Yeah. I also updated all of the tags. So the way I envisioned this working would be, that the kind of activity that this is would be delineated in the tag. So whether it's a fundraising thing, marketing thing, outreach. I also made it so that when a new card is created, the assign label tag is created, but it struck me after I did that was a little redundant. But yeah.
That's okay. I'm thinking we might actually want to use that one. One thing I'm not seeing here is maybe something related to R&D. That might be something I want to include in here as a category.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is really coming along nicely. Thank you for all the work you did on that, Adam. Does anybody
It
have
was like 2 hours, but you're welcome.
Anyone have any comments on this, pro or con? Any concerns? Should we plow ahead?
I think it's great.
Okay. Any questions for Adam or myself here, or we'll move on? I think it's going to be a great tool. We'll work on populating it and we'll report back next time. We should have a lot more of these cards in here. And once we figure out, it should be real easy to share this, embed it. We'll probably embed a view only version right within the hub. So we'll kind of start working on that stuff for next time.
Yeah, I will also just say there are a lot of integrations with other applications that can be done. Yep. So as if we scale and bring in other solutions.
I already have it integrated with Slack, and I'm getting I get updates over here. Like I was getting notifications every time you change something and move something, and
cool.
So I can configure what I see or don't. But it's really, really handy. Really handy.
That's great.
So I'm really excited about this, and am likely to get back to you. It occurs to me, since you guys are playing with ChatGPT, I am trying to do a project for Eco Restoration Alliance, perhaps for e-NABLE.earth, if that were to come into being. And I'd like to talk through what's going on there, because I'm now realizing that there may be something really cool to do that would be very interesting to me, hopefully to you.
All right, I'll put that on the agenda. We may or may not get into that today.
No, it would be premature today.
Okay, sounds good. Where were we? Okay. Jeremy. Oh, yeah. So that was Trello. We'll keep working on it. And let me just add one for me now to populate Trello with remaining known initiatives. And I'll get back to you next time on that. And then the next one is for me to schedule a meeting with Brent to review the new matching platform. I did. We have that meeting scheduled for a week from today, after the town hall. So I won't have any updates for you next town hall, but the one after that I will. So let me cross that off. And then the next one is for me to email Ian about continuing education credits, which I did, waiting to hear back. I sent him a follow-up. I'll keep it on here just as a reminder. Sarah, update and publish the press release for Splints for Ukraine. Is the press release out?
Yeah, so we got a green light from David. It's ready to go. I put the updated version into EIN Presswire, which is the platform we're using to send it out. And the last thing, I wanted to have John take a look at it. There were some formatting things that I wasn't sure about, if they were changeable or if it was a function of the platform, but the web address is like inserted into the middle of the press release, and then John's email shows up twice in a row. So I just
These are things you didn't know how to fix. I thought I just said, use your judgment.
yeah, no, I can go back and take a look at it. But I mean, before I send it out, I would like you to take a look at it too. I wasn't sure
Okay.
how to.
I have been
remove-
indisposed for a few days, but maybe we can take a look at it. I'll check the email. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to remove the embedded EIN Presswire address out of the middle of the copy. I think that just,
Okay, so it's in
Shows up.
progress, in other words.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it
Long
is
story short.
ready.
I'll just leave it there and we'll check back, but I saw that you posted a note in the hub. Thank you for that, Sarah. I guess we're still hoping to have James Quilty give us a presentation, but who owns that? Are you going to follow up with him, John? Because I don't.
Sarah did.
We,
did? Okay.
We both have. I haven't
Oh, okay,
heard
good.
from him.
So I'll let you two work on it and just let me know. He's welcome anytime. Metrics, thank you for this, Rick. Looks pretty typical. We got it still very healthy balance that I'm hoping we'll be able to put to good use this year. It's a good time to be putting forth initiatives that I just want to kind of remind all of us that the original intent with that e-NABLE fund, that 40K that you're seeing there, the intent is initiatives that would have the broadest possible benefit. You know, the idea is we want to fund things that are going to benefit the whole community ideally, or broad parts of the community at least. So just think in those directions. And if you have ideas for things that would let us do a better job of helping people, that would make our volunteers' jobs easier, anything that would benefit the community or our target, audience, it's a good time to be putting those forward.
I would say that does not mean that still allows for the possibility that a chapter would have a project that it wants to do by itself if they can produce deliverables or something from it that the whole community uses.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
That's exactly what we would like.
absolutely. All right. So posts of note. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Thank you, Sarah. We're going to have to move quickly through these. Let's just take a peek and see if we can. Okay, so this one I saw, actually, this was somebody just having print issues with their MakerBot, and I already read through it. The issues are basically just inherent to the older MakerBot that they're using, and they've already gotten some good guidance. I think the best recommendation came from Holly, which is use Magigoo. If you put some Magigoo on that build plate, print stick, and you're not going to have that lifting at the edges. And I offered up an e-NABLE discount on our Magigoo. I don't usually promote our stuff here in the hub, but as long as I'm able to offer some benefit, I didn't mind mentioning it. All right, this next one is Claire Kim, tips on printing TPU, another printing question, and it looks like they've already gotten some good suggestions. Normal printing speeds are okay. I'm actually surprised by that recommendation. I have found the most important thing with printing TPU is to print slowly. You probably want to print at half of what your normal print speed is at most, but I suppose it depends on your setup. Higher temperatures are going to help with extrusion. I agree with that. I'm seeing that on some of these. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of good recommendations here. Some of them, yeah, this one's recommending higher temperatures too. TPU has to be dried. You don't want moisture getting into your TPU. Yep. So yeah, there's a lot of good recommendations here. Some of the things that I don't see mentioned here, it depends on the printer itself. This person is using a Wanhao i3+, and I'm not familiar with that. You want to make sure that your printer has a direct drive extruder, ideally, if you're going to be doing a lot with flexible materials. You don't necessarily need that. You can get away with doing it on a Bowden tube system and that sort of thing, but it helps a lot. I'm not seeing a Bowden tube, so I'm betting this does have a direct drive extruder. Yeah, I see the spool mounts directly on top, feeds right in. It looks like a pretty good setup to me for, it says MK10 single extruder. I believe this is direct drive just based on the pictures. I don't know if anyone else here knows, but the idea is you do want to have a direct drive extruder if possible, so that where it's pushing the material is very close to where it's being melted through the hot end. Otherwise, it'll tend to bunch up a little bit. So the only thing I would say differently than the feedback I'm seeing here is the normal printing speeds bit. I would suggest that you want to print slower. Otherwise you risk having under extrusion with TPU, at least in my experience, but it depends on your machine setup too. Okay. This one is printing an unlimited arm using an SCAD file. Hand and the fingers show ridges from the printing. The hand and the fingers show ridges from the printing. Well, I assume he's talking about the layer lines. And those really aren't a problem. You're only seeing it more on the top of the palm because of the gradual slope where those layers become more visible. If you really want to reduce those, the thing to do is to reduce your layer height. So this looks like maybe it was printed at about a 0.15, maybe even a 0.2 millimeter layer height. You could go down to a 0.1 millimeter layer height or something like that. It'll take a lot longer to print the thinner your layers are, but it'll get smoother. The surface gets smoother then. Other possibilities would be post-processing, depending on what material is used. Some materials can be lightly sanded with a fine grit sandpaper. And there are other kinds of post-processing you could do to smooth them.
Rotate it 45 degrees.
What was that?
That'll do it. Just rotate it 45 degrees.
You can rotate it. That's right. You can rotate its position on the bed and
Yeah.
print it at an angle using supports if needed. And you can do away. I wouldn't print it vertically because you start to get into where you got to think about where the weaknesses are. Your weaknesses are always going to be across layer lines. So if you were to print this vertically, then you start to get, where it could break across the hand because of the stresses or break across the finger joints. But at an angle, you could definitely do. So there's a lot of different things you could do, but actually that looks quite good to me. I wouldn't be too concerned about that kind of layering unless you really want something that looks smooth. And that's what Thierry is saying too. Normal artifact in 3D printing file is nothing. Yeah, the file has nothing to do with it. You can get smoother results by reducing the line height. And he also talked about rotating it. So same comments there. Okay, let's see. Recommend printers for hands. Okay, well, this guy's saying Prusa, artillery. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to chime in here. I'm obviously biased with one being one that sells printers, but there's a lot of options out there, and I would welcome others to. Rick, you want to throw in some recommendations for? I mean, I'll point out, it depends on your budget, right? So tell us what you want to spend. And we can give you a better recommendation. Is there what printer are you using, Rick?
I have two favorites. My one favorite, of course, is the Dremel, the 3D 45.
Okay, that's a good one.
And my other favorite is the Delta Plus. Because
Delta
I can
Plus.
do really tall things and I can change heads.
Yep.
I can switch heads from printing to laser cutting to cutting. I could put a pen in it. I can give it a I can cut fabric. I can cut. I mean, it's a really neat little printer because you just swap the head out for what you want it to do.
Yeah.
And it works.
It works.
fact.
Yeah, it's cheap.
Here, that reminds me, because I get this question so much. I actually have a template set up for this one. So let me pull that up here, and I can provide some general recommendations. So what I point out here is that you can use almost any 3D printer for making e-NABLE devices. The most important thing is making sure that it's big enough. So you don't want to get one of those mini printers. You kind of want to avoid those because they're really tiny ones. You're going to have trouble with some of our larger parts. The other thing is you definitely want a printer with a heated bed, because without a heated bed, you're pretty much limited to PLA, and that's not really recommended for our devices. So you definitely want a heated bed. But beyond that, just about any printer of reasonable size with a heated bed is going to be just fine. And that leaves so many options depending on budget and what sort of capabilities you're looking for. You know, for example, you don't need dual extrusion for any of our stuff, but you very well might want that depending on other things you're hoping to do with your printers. So there's a lot of considerations, but I would say those are the two most important things: is just don't get a mini printer and make sure it has a heated bed. Okay. Trying to move through the rest of these. There's this one here. This is the post about the chapter audit, inviting people to please share. Very good.
Someone had asked for the email to be resent. I think that's
Excellent.
why I
Did you
included
see that one, Rick?
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about. Apparently
Okay.
he had deleted it. And then he
Okay.
saw this and realized, oops. So I think putting it on here was good because the chapter leaders were the ones seeing this, because it's not out public. And then they're
Yep.
realizing why it's important to them.
Okay, that one we already looked at. Here's the Ukraine announcement. Yes, this is what Sarah put out there, excuse me, to announce the Splints initiative. And we got a lot of people looking like they're going to be jumping in. That's great.
I moved it closer to the top, so hopefully more people would see it. And I also included it in the pinned post under volunteering needs, but there was
That's excellent.
a
Keep
comment.
in mind, Sarah, that anytime somebody comments or responds to a comment, it's going to bounce it up to the top of the
Yeah.
stream as well.
Okay, there was a comment from someone. It sounded like they wanted more information that they couldn't find on the website. Is that a question that I
Yes.
should pass along to David, or?
Yeah, did he say that the wrist braces are the most in need, John? I can't remember.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Because I think those were the larger ones that, you know, anyone can print a finger brace or something like that, you know, but I think the larger wrist braces are the ones that they have more of a demand for. I'm hesitant to write that in here because I'm not totally confident about that answer, but that's what I seem to recall.
Sarah, why don't we invite David to attend this meeting next week?
That's a good
By
idea.
then the press release will be out. He's gotten some feedback. Just see how we're doing.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, what else do we have here? Max. What does Max have to say? He's introducing himself. He's a senior in high school, trying to establish a chapter. He's also limb different, missing a right hand. He's interested in designing prosthetic devices. He's already printed the Phoenix V3. Wonderful, wonderful. Great to have you, Max. He's got some nice welcome messages here. Linking him to the new member space. Excellent. And he's going to join the new members meetup. Wonderful. Thanks, Sarah.
I wanted to include this just to think about for outreach, because I mean, there are when people, this is a great example of a someone who would make a device and potentially use them. So to try to when people like this show up or look for other posts in the hub that are like this, to try to reach out to people
Absolutely.
and engage them
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah, these are very important people to us. They can have a huge impact. So anything we can do to help him sort of find his way and get engaged, definitely.
So
He
Sarah,
did an
we
amazing
talked
job
about
on
that.
that hand. He really did. He did an amazing job. When I badged him, he not only did he all the evidence he put in there, but the video, everything he did was just top notch.
Okay. What were you saying, Adam?
Sarah and I met this week. We tried to get the outreach team together for our first meeting this week, but I blame myself. I sent out the invite link like less than 24 hours before the scheduled meeting time, and we had a little bit of trouble syncing up. But we're going to be trying again, I believe, next week or the week after. But in short, Sarah brought up the idea that, you know, as we explore a more you know, focused plan for outreach in our community, targeting individuals who are users, regardless of whether or not they're makers. You know, being makers also is a big plus. You know, bringing people in who are recipients and users of devices is really going to be integral. and I agree completely. So I'm looking forward to meeting with a group and trying to see how we can kind of fold that into and make it kind of a, you know, a bold-faced priority for what we're doing.
Nice.
You know, once upon a time, when I was more ambitious and less stretched thick, it occurred to me that we have new people coming on to the stretched thin. We had new people coming on to the hub every week. And there are any number of things that we might try for onboarding and assimilation and so on. And you know, one could do a series of 1-month experiments just to plant the seed here. Try a technique, apply it for a month, and see how many of the people who sign on to the hub then respond and become involved. And in that way, not just go with our best guess of what needs to be done, but actually do some empirical testing of what techniques really do engage people. Whether that applies completely to outreach or to any of these things, I don't know. But you know, I think sort of systematically tracking what we have tried and what works and what doesn't might be within your ambitions in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
All right, moving along. Amy, this is on, oh no, hold on. This is not what I was thinking. We done. Okay, yeah, this is the teacher I'm working with. What is the last one? Amy, update on this topic about 6 hours ago. Okay, I'm confused because I thought I was already in touch with her. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I got to refresh my memory here. Yeah, so she's looking on where she can send the devices or where they'll have a pool of recipients. This is not who I was thinking of. I was thinking of a teacher that we're trying to print devices for. Okay. Yeah, so she's basically asking if we have any updates on helping them to find recipients, and that's basically the email template that I just wrote up. I might have to respond with that template, basically explaining that we are working on it, but we're not there yet. Rick, you were asking about getting a copy of that. You'll find it under templates. If you're in the, I'm gonna switch the.
That comes up a lot, so that's good.
It's not letting me click for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, it's under the e-NABLE templates. I don't know why it's not letting me click. I'll have to look at that later. So as far as Amy goes, I don't have any updates, but we should share some of that information. Could I get one of you two to help me with that? Maybe just, Rick, you have access to that template. Would you mind sharing some of that, of what I put into that template with her?
Sure. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I just know I'm not going to get back to that today. And then, oh, that one we looked at, that was the guy asking you to resend the email. Okay, so let's move on here. Recurring events. So let's see, we're into February now. And what's our next one? Sarah, do we have should I look at the calendar?
Yeah, I sent the email out.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
So
And I can go to the wiki.
you can look at the calendar or the email or the wiki.
Okay, so where are we at here? We're on the 3rd. So the next one coming up is going to be the 10th, which is next Friday. That's going to be the Bionic design meeting.
Yeah, and I'll be emailing members in the Bionic space to invite them to this discussion. But is there anyone, like, do we have a moderator?
Well, it's supposed to be Vivek.
He's not here.
He's not?
No.
It's in India.
Ah.
So can anyone
Okay.
volunteer?
Well, I guess I could, since I was trying to come up with a kit for Bionics and I haven't made a lot of progress. Maybe I should just have another discussion with them about it. Okay, so that's next Friday at 11 my time, so right after the town hall.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that. Can I ask you just to send me an email about that, Sarah? Just
Yeah.
because I'm not gonna put it on my calendar right now and I'll forget about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then the following Monday on the 13th will be the chapter leaders meeting. John, you're handling that? Okay, and then Friday, the 17th would be the education and new members meetup hosted by Ian and Rick with guest Brent Hollers. Okay, and then we've got the town hall every Friday. Excellent. Okay, so moving on, where were we? I guess that brings us into discussion topics. So there was a volunteer, this is quick, a volunteer reached out to me with an update. I was actually hoping he might be able to join us. It doesn't look like he was able to, but let's see. This was a guy who shared a cool image of the arm they've made for nice looking device. I like how they're using a little rubber band attachment there to be able to hold a pencil. Pretty cool. And I don't remember the details of the discussion we were having around this. Let's see. Yeah, so they're working with a clinic, Tous Ensemble. I don't know how to pronounce that. And this is in Haiti. And I was hoping to just have him join us and kind of tell us more about the work they're doing. So I'm going to leave it at that since I don't know the details. It just looked like a cool project he was doing, and hopefully he'll join us someday and tell us more about that. For now, I'll leave it where it is. Okay, we already covered Trello. Adam and I are going to work on that. I'm excited to move forward with that. Afghan initiative. Adam, take it away.
Yeah, this kind of bleeds into the next bullet item as well, outreach generally. So a couple of updates here, actually, just in the past few days. I finally found a little bit of hope in terms of a logistics pathway. So one of the avenues that we are exploring got back to us, and it is, let's see here, I want to make sure I've got this right. This is Hajikawi, who's the owner of Jalani Hospital in Pakistan. And he has committed and says that he is, quote, ready to help as needed to receive prostheses and devices and be a sort of conduit to deliver them to Kabul. So I've got to knock out the details, like what kind of volume they could handle, the sort of like frequency, what specific pathway that's going to be, how are we going to ship it, how much is it going to cost. We've got a meeting coming up in next week with my folks in Kabul, Dr. Mehan, who's been my my primary point of contact to sort of connect these folks all together, and then Hajikawi, who is going to hopefully be the person overseeing this. I'm really excited because this is the first viable path that has kind of borne fruit. And I will hopefully have some of those logistics answers after I meet with them next week. So very excited there. I was very ready to throw in the towel on this, and just at the 11th hour, this popped up. Also in this vein, Utkarsh, who is the sort of like my counterpart in the Helping Hands project based in North Carolina. It's just as a reminder for those who aren't as familiar, it's a North Carolina education system based 501c3 nonprofit that was founded by and run entirely by undergraduate students. So they have a rotating board of undergrads. They facilitate primarily events to support children with congenital limb differences in the North Carolina communities. But they are really interested in being more engaged with e-NABLE and helping us to build out our outreach network. So I've been having a few talks with their leadership over the past couple of months. They were dark for a while because of the winter break. But we're going to be, I've got 3 people committed from HHP who are really interested in helping to build up a matching system for recipients in Kabul, and are also interested in seeing how we can kind of translate that into some more coordinated efforts domestically, stateside, after the Afghan project is kind of underway. So lots of stuff going on there. Utkarsh also has graduated, and he's going to be passing the torch soon. And I'd really like him and his successor to be involved in this outreach team, because they are, young folks. They're like early 20s, but this group of people is just, I mean, they're so much more put together and professional than I am. And they are just a very well coordinated group on their leadership side. So would be really interested to see what kind of contributions they can make. Any questions, comments before I blather on?
Yeah, it's not blather, it's really a good report. They are terrific, and they started as an enabled chapter. So
Yeah,
I take great pride in what they have done. And, I think that's actually sort of typical of the network. We ourselves just keep it together. Every so often, someone figures out how to take it to the next level, and
yeah,
then we can
cool.
work with them.
They've got all these different chapters across the North Carolina education system, the university system, and really they don't have a lot of representation in our meetings. And I think they're putting forward sort of a task to chapter leaders to attend these events, so like the weekly town hall and others coming up soon.
That's great.
We've been talking about how it would be really great if e-NABLE kind of writ large did a little bit better job of getting people's heads together to solve kind of more global problems. So rather than, which is not to diminish like the one-off,
Sure,
like, hey,
sure.
this person's having this problem with this device, but also like, hey, how do we reach more people? And I think that's really what the outreach community and leadership with Sarah and myself and others will start tasking and getting done. So really excited on a couple of different fronts here.
That's great. I'll just mention, as you're speaking with them, and I think you're the right guy to liaison with them. I've reached out to them many times over the years and had the same kind of cordial conversation, but not able to get to follow up. They might well be excellent recipients of an Enable Fund grant if they really want to bring their resources to bear and need help getting that together. That we can do.
Well, I will also say that they have a dedicated marketing person who is experienced in a lot of, they do a lot of fundraising.
Yeah.
And I think that whoever would be most appropriate, I don't think it's me at this point, but whoever would like to sit at the feet of someone who's TikTok literate and see how we can maybe leverage some more modern tools to facilitate our fundraising efforts. I think that that might be a worthwhile series of conversations.
Okay, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Beyond that,
Blather on.
Well, one thing I wanted to inject, Adam, I don't know if I ever talked to you about this, but I've had several meetings with the leadership team at the Illinois Assistive Technology Program.
Okay. We haven't talked about that.
Okay, so that might be a good connection for you too. They were very interested in the work that we're doing, and
the Illinois Assistive Technology Program.
Yeah, IATP. And they're all about providing assistive technology to people, obviously in Illinois, but awesome. Their focus hasn't been on prosthetics. It's been more on other types of gadgets and assistive devices to help people in their daily lives. And there just seem to be some good kind of cross-pollination opportunities there, different kind of pools of talent, different abilities.
Yeah, and that's what that's really what I'm very interested in exploring a little bit more. So Tainara down in Brazil, I did a couple of projects with her. I need to reach out to her. I haven't talked to her in a couple of months. She's the occupational therapist who presented at the little healthcare roundup that we had a couple of months back. And she is primarily, she does a lot of 3D printing and she does prosthetics, but what she does that I think is much more innovative is create these like task specific tools.
Yep.
That I think we could really do more work to kind of, and the kind of stuff, whenever I think of Rick, I know Rick also does a lot of prosthetics work, but he does a lot of tool stuff in gadgetry. And I think our larger community could.
I've wanted to see our catalog reflect that for a long time. We've always been focused on the prosthetics, but that's why I saw the opportunity to sort of sync up with what Nush has been working on and getting our devices into the NIH catalog. You know, as long as we're
Sure.
going through that process, let's expand it. Let's include these other categories of devices. Let's partner with these organizations that are already doing that. Let's
Yeah.
have open source designs, and let's start pooling all of
Well,
these.
and what I really want to do is have a network of like occupational therapists who and help you like facilitate getting them 3D printers in their clinics, or at
Right.
the very least partnering them with labs and like local library systems that already have these labs built,
Right. Right.
and then getting them the files they need and getting them comfortable with practicing with prints, so that we can
Exactly.
just sort of have more of an ecosystem where these tools.
Well, and
can
not
be
only
widely
getting them
distributed.
comfortable, but you know, there's another layer there with the reason I like the NIH 3D printing exchange is because at least when it came to their PPE solutions, the section they had for that, they have a section that was specifically like reviewed for clinical use and then
Mhm.
everything else. And there might be something similar where if we're partnering with OTs and prosthetists and or other types of professionals, and they have an opportunity to check some of these designs and say, yeah, that one is, you know, really useful. Maybe there's a way of putting those in a different category that have been,
Yeah,
don't
well,
know,
I
professionally
certainly
reviewed.
have. I mean, I've got the makings of a test kitchen here in Kansas City, because I've got personal friends who are occupational therapists at 3, 4 rehab facilities around the Kansas City metro.
Nice.
And then let's see, I've also got a contact. I need to see if the Shirley Ryan Institute in Chicago is doing any of this work, because that's really where a lot of the forefront of this kind of stuff is done in the
Yep.
rehab world.
Yep.
But yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. So I'll reach
So-
out to IATP and
Well, I'll, if you don't mind, I'll make a connection there, Adam, because I'm
oh, of
already
course. Yeah,
plugged in with
okay.
the leaders there, and I'll just coordinate a meeting because I've already met with them a few times, and so I'll just coordinate another meeting to include you. And I think I want to include John if he's willing. I know
Of
you're
course.
less available these days, John, but would you be open to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I'll
That'd be
take
awesome.
that as a follow up. So I didn't mean to interrupt you or take you off track there.
No. I mean, this is what this is what I wanted to do when I joined e-NABLE. So
Great.
That's
this is
fantastic,
exciting.
Adam. I have one, this is also an opportunity eventually to engage our underutilized experts with their own 3D printers to work with the OTs,
Right.
possibly to do some of the printing for them so that we're not using OT time to do what our volunteers are eager to do.
Yep. That's a much better idea that didn't even occur to me.
Especially, Adam, when I have so many people coming to me, like the one that you saw in that earlier thread saying, hey, I have devices, or I'm going to be making these devices. Where can I send them? If we don't have recipients for them, maybe this is another thing we can do, is establish this network with the professionals where we could, you know, have volunteers sending their additional devices to them for more evaluation and outreach purposes.
Well, and I'll tell you, there's a black market of like, you know, how to fix broken like wheelchair attachments and different tools like assistive devices,
Yeah.
and really just like jury rigging things in a way that works but might not look that great, or might not work but looks better. And I feel like 3D printing can really wedge that gap and
Sure.
you know, make things that are reasonably sturdy, that might not be quote unquote approved, but
Yep.
that you know, rehabilitation professionals could distribute and say, hey, this is a fix for that. Or
Absolutely. You know,
maybe
I have,
taking it to a deeper level, like saying, snapping some pictures, this person's having this problem, this is what they need to accomplish.
that's right.
I don't know how to get from A to C.
Absolutely. And that's
so-
really the intent, Adam, of where we want to be. We want to be helping, you know, people through assistive technology. It doesn't need to be prosthetics. There's a lot of ways we can do that. And another group I've been working with is a group at Bethany Children's Health Center. And they're
Okay.
doing a lot of what you just described with wheelchair attachments. They've been making 3D printed things that you can sort of attach to the wheelchair arm that'll give them, you know, a hanger for their, you know, for their IV bag, or give them, you know, an attachment to hold their iPad or whatever it might be. And those are things that we could be helping with. I agree.
Awesome.
Adam,
Let's do it.
there are three actually that have that similar OT oriented broader approach. One is Makers Making Change, based in Canada, and we've worked with them again intermittently over the years, but they're quite good, and they're about that. There's a OT or PT group in Britannia that has their own collection of 3D printable designs for wheelchair attachments and other things along those lines. And there's an initiative that I'm blanking on, which has written some grants to do this kind of thing. And I still get their email and I'll forward it to you. But there is already, the point is, several groups related to OT, not prosthetics, who are somewhat inspired by e-NABLE and somewhat reinventing what we were doing. But obviously, there's no good reason for us to be
KG.
unconnected.
Got it.
Excellent.
Yeah, this is great. Sorry that took up so much time.
That's okay.
but
Anything
this
else?
is great. Nope, I'm done.
Okay.
Well done.
Well, I guess we have, well, we don't really. We've got a few minutes, John. Do you want to talk about anything with the fiscal sponsors since we do have Evan here? Do you want to take just a couple of minutes?
Sure. I'm going to stay off camera. So Rochester e-NABLE, Evan, you can summarize this more concisely than I can right now, if you're willing.
Sure. It's just a boilerplate fiscal sponsorship agreement. I can just get through the main points. All it says is, you know, Rochester e-NABLE Limited is going to have the bank account. We will hold the funds. We will make them accessible. It also states that, you know, the entity is not a member of the sponsor of e-NABLE Fund, so it will not take any, it won't have a say in any of its activities. It's a very hands-off agreement. And
Evan, you know, I'm sitting here smiling as I think about this because I have to wonder, how do you do an agreement between an entity like Rochester e-NABLE Limited and another entity that does not exist as a legal entity?
well, I see what you're saying. And I kind of just stole the idea of having this document from ERA because I saw that Bio for Climate did that with ERA. So I kind of just,
Well, let me ask,
stealing their idea.
let me ask
but
a
I agree
different,
with you.
let me ask a different question. Who signs this agreement on behalf of e-NABLE?
So I actually signed it on behalf of the ERA.
Okay.
The point is here, if
Wait,
we
John,
wanna go-
are you talking about the sponsorship agreement for ERA? I thought we were talking about the
No.
agreement for e-NABLE.
We are, but
Okay.
they're suddenly in parallel configurations, and in
I see.
ERA, they are in the process of voting through a process rather similar to ours,
Okay,
to accept Rochester e-NABLE's invitation to fiscal sponsorship.
gotcha.
And with that vote behind us, someone, probably me, will sign. And then we will just have official documentation about the relationship between the
Makes sense.
the network and the 501c3. The obligations and responsibilities are on paper and clear. It's, you know, we could use the original Lumio agreement, but this would be a way of just sort of normalizing and providing
Well,
a simpler.
no, I
funds.
think you're on the right track. I think the original Lumio agreement gives you the authority to go ahead and establish this agreement and kind of sign on behalf of the community since they've already approved this.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So if we want to formalize this, we can either just do it on our say-so, or we can go through the drill of sharing the document with the community and letting them say, geez, I thought we took care of this years ago. What do you think?
You and I think have always both been in favor of as much visibility as possible, as much transparency as possible. So I'd be in favor of sharing it. What about, can we go back to that original Lumio vote thread and just like post it as an update there as more of an FYI and let people comment?
That's a great way to do it. That's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So let's just, let's post it, maybe give people a week to comment and then we go forward, I'd say, since it was already voted on. Sound good?
Okay. Very good.
Okay. I think we should wrap up then, unless anyone has anything else.
Well, as you can see, I am toying with the idea that Rochester e-NABLE Limited might rename itself as it expands its mission to something like e-NABLE Earth. Last time we talked about this, you said, well, that's your problem, but I'll point out that that would be building on e-NABLE's brand. So I welcome any comments about that. It's not an immediate issue, but it's it keeps popping up.
I love what you're doing. I think they're fit beautifully together. The idea of community coming together to get things done. You know, they happen to be focused on different areas of need, but I think it's a wonderful thing. That's just my personal view. What do the rest of you think? Anyone have any concerns about sort of a rebranding? And
It's possible that some people don't want to contradict your effusive remark just then, or don't know about Eco Restoration Alliance, which is the other venture. If people want to go to ecorestorationalliance.net, they'll be able to see what we're doing. Needless to say, it's possible to be a member of both of these organizations. And by the way, I'm always on the lookout for intersections, but ways in which 3D printing can be used in the service of restoring the healthy ecosystems that will restabilize our climate and feed its inhabitants. So check it out. That's enough discussion for now, I think. Jeremy, you're on mute.
I don't know how that happened. All right, thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. And John, stay with me, please.
Yes,
Wait a
please.
minute. I just put a comment out there. I didn't know if anybody saw.
Oh, what have you reached out? Oh, to Lucky Finn. Yeah. I know we talked to them years ago. John, do you know when the last contact was?
It has been years, but they are a group that Adam and Sarah should reach out to.
I'm just adding it here to our notes under potential partnerships so we can look at that later. Thank you, Rick. Okay, see y'all next time.